Greetings from Philadelphia. So my name is Hari. I came to this country in 1992, and I came to basically study. I did most of my schooling here, and eventually graduated from a university in Philadelphia. So I've lived most of my life in and around Philadelphia. I've lived for a couple of years in Montana and a few years in Central and North Jersey. Basically, as far as India is concerned, I'm from Kerala, but I've never lived in Kerala. I've spent some time in Madurai and Coimbatore, so I can read, write, and speak Tamil, which I consider to be a great achievement. It's not a very easy language to learn, but I was able to do it. And I still enjoy, and I'm thankful that I did it, because listening to the Tamil songs from the late 70s and 80s, and the Sendal Kaunamani jokes is one of my favorite pastimes. It's like watching Seinfeld. You never get tired of it. You keep watching it again and again. So that's a little bit about me. So I never thought I would make this decision to go back to India, because I've told many of my friends for a very long period that I would never go back to India. I'm very comfortable here. I came to this country before the internet boom and before smartphones, and there weren't many Indians in this area at that time, so you had to adjust and integrate very fast, which I was able to do. Plus the fact that I went to school here helps. So I never thought I would make the decision eventually to go back to India, but a couple of months ago I finally came to that decision, and I want to list some of the key reasons why I did that. So right off the bat, I want to mention that it has nothing to do with American politics. It's fashionable among some people to say, I don't like the guy who's the president, so I'm going to leave the country. I'm not one of those. I love the United States. I'm very, very proud to be an American citizen. But at the same time, there are certain things that are kind of beginning to be very important, and that has kind of helped me make the decision to finally transition back to India. So anyway, the first reason is family. So when I came here, there was obviously no WhatsApp. Phone calls are very expensive. I remember it used to be something like $1.25 per minute at one point. So I used, when I was, if I want to make a call to India, I would literally have a clock next to my phone and make sure that I'm not talking for too long, because it would take, I was making probably $4 an hour before tax at that point. So a simple 10-minute phone call can cost you $15, which is pretty significant. So I completely lost track, lost connection with my friends and family back in India. But that all kind of changed. I would say early 2000s, just before 9/11. My dad passed away, so I had to go to India quite frequently to take care of stuff. And also in the I would say 2014, 2015, WhatsApp came into existence, and I think WhatsApp completely changed the way people connect these days, particularly people in India who have a strong affinity towards WhatsApp. Anyway, so I was able to connect with my friends and family in the last 20 years. And I don't just mean chatting with them over the phone or anything. I have had many opportunities to go back, meet them, reconnect with them, even take small vacations with them. So it is not just a simple connection. And both my cousins and nephews from my dad's side and also from my mom's side, they've been very welcoming, even though I've been out of the picture for 15, 20 years. They definitely make sure that I'm very welcomed whenever I go visit them, and so I feel like that part of my life. I do have a lot of friends and some family in the US, but the network in India is stronger. Most of the people in India are in my age group, my cousins, so I connect with them in a much more stronger way than I do with my friends and family in the United States. So that's one of the key reasons. The second one is kind of related to that, which is growing old in America. So as I'm growing older, I'm becoming more and more aware of what's happening around me in terms of retirement and things like that. In America, most Americans retire starting from the age of 62 onwards. That's when most of us become eligible for Social Security. For me, my full retirement age is only 67, so that's a long way away. 67 is almost like the average lifespan of most Indians, so I'm definitely planning to start withdrawing from Social Security at the age of 62, definitely. But what I notice is most people who are in this country, and I include all Indian Americans in this as well, we retire and we are still healthy. See, we might do some traveling. Most of our life revolves around our children and our spouses. And then once that healthy phase is over, then we get into the the 55 plus community type of living, which is very popular in Florida these days, and then eventually end up in some senior care homes. So that's the journey in front of me, and when I think about it a lot, I don't like it. So I don't want to do that. Like the last phase of the life, which you call it the golden years, I don't want to spend that time like mostly around my children, my kids. I have only one daughter, but I don't want to spend a lot of that time with my kid, and I will tell you the reason for that in another video. I don't want to be an overbearing father, like always around my daughter, but I want to travel a little bit. I want to spend time with people of my age group, and I think there is a lot of loneliness in retirement in America, particularly the later half of the retirement, and I want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Okay. The next reason is what I would call the American treadmill. So in the United States, whether from a tax perspective, most of us spend, give the government around, we are in the 24% tax group. I would say a lot of my friends and myself, we are in that group. So we are spending a lot of that in taxes. But in addition to that, people like me who live in the city, we pay city taxes and a lot of sales taxes and beverage taxes and all that. So you spend a lot of your income working for the government, basically. And on top of it, there are other things that you have to deal with. Like, for example, in my case, I have to constantly deal with the demands of my condo association. I live in a condo, and they constantly have assessments that you have to pay. Then you have the city itself constantly changing your property assessments and trying to get more taxes from you. And then there is, if you live in Philly, one of the toughest things you have to do is constantly, you have to do jury duty. Since I have a very big name, my name is in the system more than once. So even though you do your jury duty, and once you do it in the city, you are exempt from jury duty for about 3 years. I constantly get asked to attend jury duty because my name is in the system multiple times. So I call it the American treadmill. It's like constantly there is something happening, and you have to keep paying attention. You cannot just walk away from everything like you can for some reason, like you can in a country like India, where government has all these rules and regulations in India, but you don't really. It's not overbearing like it is in the U.S. So that's that's a key reason. There is also something else that is happening. So in my case, which I don't want to talk about at this point, maybe in a future video I'll post that. Okay, so the next item is I would say money. I don't believe in savings. I haven't saved a lot of money. I don't want to say I'm poor or anything. Definitely not. But I don't believe in savings. I don't believe in having a large 401k and things like that and just handing it over to your kids so that they can blow it away in their education and whatever. So I don't believe in that. I've saved a little bit of money. But I'm not sure if that is enough to have a good quality of life in the US moving forward. So the other day I did I just posted a question to WhatsApp. I was like, okay, if I'm 60 and if I have $500,000, is that enough to retire in the United States? And the answer was like, maybe if you live a frugal life, or if your mortgage is paid off, and if you live in a rural place and things like that. So in my view, I don't want to sacrifice the quality of life that way at all. I want to still enjoy the things I'm enjoying now and live a good life that I've worked hard for. So I don't want to compromise on that. So for you guys who are from India, India is a very affordable country. Getting to India is very expensive because it's on the other side of the planet. That's number one. And living in a big Indian metro like Bombay, Delhi, or Calcutta, or Hyderabad, or Bangalore, that's going to be expensive. But if you move to a second level city, and there are plenty of cities in India, the one that I'm planning to move to is Kochi. You can easily live a very comfortable life for $1,000 a month. So that's what I'm planning to do. So particularly if you do not have a mortgage or a rent in Kochi, $1,000 is more than enough. And in my case, I do have a flat in Kochi. That's one of the few smart financial moves I've made. I did buy a flat in 2005. And it took several years for them to finally build and deliver the flat to me. So by around 2008, late 2009, I did get that flat in my name, and I don't have a loan or anything, so I can just go there and live. It's a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment facing the ocean. So it's a wonderful place. So I'm looking forward to going and living there. It's right in the middle of the city. So it's very similar to the neighborhood I'm in right now. I'm in a neighborhood called Rittenhouse Square, where you can walk everywhere. I don't have a car, so I walk everywhere. All my doctors are within a few blocks of my apartment. And I mean, if I want to go to the suburbs, or if I want to meet somebody in another city or something, I take Uber, or I take the trains. The railway network in this part of United States is very good. The public transportation is very good, probably the best in the entire country. And you have Amtrak, you have regional rails of all the different. You have Philadelphia Regional Rail, you have the New Jersey Transit, you have Amtrak. So between the three, you can pretty much cover a lot of cities. Boston, Baltimore, New York City, Washington. So I use public transportation. I'm very comfortable, and Kochi, the place where my apartment is very similar. Of course, it's not. None of the American cities are really walking friendly. So, there are lots of parks near my Kochi apartment, but I might have to take Uber Auto or Uber if I want to travel more than 3 or 4 kilometers. So, which I'm willing to do, and which is not very expensive. I took a lot of Uber Auto when I was there a year and a half ago, and it was most of the Uber Autos were most of the rides were $1 or less, which was amazing. Anyway, so that's the important reason. The next reason is healthcare. I'm generally healthy. I go to the gym a couple of times a week, and I also walk around a lot in my neighborhood. So I'm generally healthy, but I've been to the ER a few times, and I pay for my insurance myself because I always consult. I want to have the same insurance company. I don't want to keep switching. So my insurance was $500 a month in 2025, and when I renewed it in 2026, it went up to $625. So it went up by almost $125 in 1 year. So the way I look at it is, in about 5 to 10 years, that's going to be $1,000 minimum for me. So if I get $2,300 or $2,400 at the age of 62 in Social Security, almost half of it will go in medical insurance. So that is kind of unacceptable. I have no idea why health insurance is this high. I don't know why healthcare is, in general, the system is very bad. I don't want to say the doctors or the hospitals. So I'm not pointing the finger at them. The doctors are very good. Hospitals have some excellent care and things like that. Particularly in Philadelphia, there are some world-class hospitals. But it's gone to the point where it is unaffordable for most Americans, including me. So when I went to India a few years ago, I was inquiring about the health insurance in India, and I eventually took a health insurance. It's by an American company called Cigna. So Cigna has collaborated with a major university/hospital chain in India, and there is this Cigna health insurance in India. So health insurance in India, for those of you who don't know, most of that predominantly covers only hospital visits. So the regular doctor visit you can just pay from your pocket, and that in most cases is not very expensive. So that is so I took that insurance. So the 3-year plan came to about, I would say, maybe $2,500, and I have the right to extend it if I want. So $2,500 for 3-year health plan, and a very premium plan. So one of the things you have to decide on when you get a health insurance in India is, when you are hospitalized, what kind of room do you want? Do you want a non-AC room? Do you want an AC room? Do you want a room where somebody else can sleep with you and give you company? Things like that. So I took the premium plan, and that is $2,500 for 3 years. So if you want for example, a non-AC room, I'm sure you can get it for much cheaper. So the overall health insurance and healthcare to me is a big factor. As I'm getting old, I don't want to wait 4 months to get an appointment with a cardiologist and spend thousands of dollars out of pocket every year, in addition to paying maybe $15,000 a year for the insurance premium. So the whole thing doesn't make sense. So the next reason why I want to move back to India, I would say, is the energy. One thing surprised me during my recent visits to India is India, although it's a very ancient civilization and it's a very old country, the population is very young. It's one of the youngest countries. If you look at the median age, India is one of the youngest countries in the world. And young people have a lot of passion and a lot of energy, and that you can see in India when you go there. they're very optimistic. They think that the future is in front of them, and I feel quite differently in the United States, because I'm in a very hip neighborhood, so there are a lot of young people, there are a lot of universities. I can literally see University of Pennsylvania from where I'm sitting right now. In the so in my neighborhood you will feel a little bit of energy, but that is not a good representation of the overall country. Neighborhoods like mine do not represent what America is about. It's just a small piece of America in that sense. So I don't feel that energy in the US as I do in India. I feel a lot of Americans think that the best days of United States are behind them, not in front of them. And I also sense a lot of internal conflicts. Americans are very sharply divided along political lines these days, and I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. And the United States, as it always has been, is it's always been an empire, and there are a lot of people who thought that US will revert back to its the concept which was imagined by its founding fathers, but that is not the case. I have a lot. I have a lot of interest in history. There is United States, in my view, right from the beginning, is a country that loves wars. I think I heard that even Thomas Jefferson fought a few wars in the Mediterranean. So can you imagine, like in the early 18th century, United States was already meddling in affairs that are very close to the Middle East, which it's still doing almost 250 years later. So that is the energy is a very important factor for me. I want to be like in a place where things are optimistic and positive, and I think I like that versus, and I'm like that too. I'm very happy wherever I am. I look at things very positively. I think there are a lot of good years ahead for mankind. It's not going to end anytime soon. And India represents that more than America at this point for me. One other point I do want to mention is travel. I've traveled a lot, mostly to Europe, to Central and South America, and obviously I've traveled a lot within the United States. But one country I have not traveled a lot is India. I've been to certain places. I've been to Delhi, I've been to Bombay, and as a South Indian, I've been to a lot of places in South. I've also been to Bihar. But I learned a lot about India after I came to the US. When I started working, IT, those days IT used to be, IT projects typically there used to be like an architect kind of a guy, a couple of developers, couple of testers, and that was the IT project team. Nowadays it's much more complicated and sophisticated, but not necessarily as efficient. So in one of my first places I used to work for, my architect was a Russian guy. He had come from Russia. His name is I think it's Vladimir, if I remember correctly. So he and I used to go out for lunch. There was a Vietnamese restaurant near our place of work, and I used to talk to him about a whole bunch of things, and his knowledge of India and not just political knowledge of modern day India, but his knowledge of ancient India, the languages and the culture totally shocked me. I was like, how come I'm an Indian, I went to school a little bit in India, and I still don't know like 10% of what this guy knows. So over the last 20-25 years, I've taken a lot of effort to learn about Indian history, culture and traditions and so on. So once I go back to India, I want to travel a lot, you know, and maybe I'll post a few of those videos in this channel also. So I do want to traveling within India and traveling a little bit to countries around India, like you have Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Philippines, Indonesia. These countries are very, very close to India. It takes only like maximum 5 hours to fly to any of these countries from India. So I want to do that. So that's one of the key things. Those are the kind of things, those are the important points that I want to mention that drove me to relocate to India. And I'm hoping that it works out well for me. So if you are somebody who is in a similar situation, please comment. And I've also watched a few videos about people who actually went to India and then came back to the US. So please post your comments on this video as well. I just wanted to mention in closing that I don't want this to be like a, what I want to say, an expat channel. That's not what I want it to be. I don't want this to be a travel channel also, even though I might post stuff about relating to my moves to India, the difficulties I faced there and things like that. I am planning to do all of that, and I might post some videos that will be more travel related than things like that. But I also want to like post things about some of my philosophies and my ideas, and I want to hopefully see. I mean, I'm hoping that there will be some audience for that also. Like for example, something I mentioned earlier in this video, I did mention that I don't want to be around my daughter. I would say that is a little bit controversial, because typically in the Indian American community, I've noted that the life revolves around your kids, and not just when they are young, but even when they are older. I have friends whose kids are like in their late 20s, and the parents are still around a lot of the time. The parents have to be around. I mean, you have to help your kids, you have to guide them, and obviously that's your responsibility as a parent. But what I'm saying is, I think some of us might be overdoing it. So I want to talk about topics like that. I will be posting a whole bunch of things like that. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed my little speech. This is my first video, so hopefully I will improve as a vlogger as well. But anyway, good luck. I hope you guys have a nice week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.